The rate of extinction is extraordinarily high now and getting higher all the time.
The analogy of the frog in the boiling pot is simple. The premise is that if you put a frog directly into boiling water, it will jump out. But if the water is slowly brought to a boil, the frog will stay in the water, unaware that it is being boiled alive.
Humanity is very busily sitting on a limb that we're sawing off.
In the 1800s, there were believed to be 3 to 5 billion passenger pigeons in North America, enough to block out the sun as they flew overhead. Their population began to rapidly decline in 1870 as our technology advanced, and by 1914, 44 years later, they were extinct.
Today, humans have taken over 70% of the planet's land and 70% of the fresh water.
The danger is that none of us can remember a time when these birds existed, and we have forgotten how the world should look when the ecosystem is fully functional. So we're willing to permit even further ecological destruction. If only we could remember what it was like before the heat was turned up, then we would realize that we need to jump out of the water before it's too late. Or else we will keep making the same mistake over and over and over.
Well, hey, welcome to Hard Basis. I am Clint Allen. Have we got some really good reaction for you today? Going to take you down a journey of how mankind is wrecking the world for profit. Many years ago when I moved into this town, a little over 10 years ago, this whole beach would have been covered in seagulls. As of today, nine.
I have a poly-market thing. The U.S. fertility rate up in Q1 2026. Only 35% of people say that the fertility rate is going to rise. 65% say no. The U.S. hit a record low of 53.1% in 2025, down from 53.8 in 2024. That's 2 decades of decline. Is the birth rate collapse a policy problem, an economic problem, or a relationship and intimacy problem?
I think it's all of the above. A lot of Gen Zs are not having sex and also have very bleak view of the future. And that's one of the reasons why we don't want to have children. Maybe the earth is not going to be here, maybe there will be World War III, maybe there will be an outbreak of biological warfare at some point. Wow. There's microplastics everywhere. All of these worries combined, plus social media telling them every day like the world's going to what's the point of looking forward into the future when there might not be a future?
Well, let's start with the elephant in the room. Okay. I grew up in a time where we didn't have a pocket computer attached to our behind. Everything that went on in our life was from our imagination and our will to go forward and get stuff done, period. So the point of that is Gen Z grew up with porn right at their fingertips. Not like people previous to that, like me, who you went through that natural going to school and all of a sudden noticing girls and becoming interested, having the dances, going out, that slow progression of mingling and mixing with women, girls, however you want to state that, okay? Obviously, a boy's goal is, to do the thing. Well, Gen Z don't need to worry about that. It was right here at their fingertips. Right there it was, right at the fingertip. And now you add social media, where in the beginning it started out honest, and now it's just become a huge way of people lying and doing stuff for attention. Things that way back in my day they would have called shock radio, okay? Howard Stern, look him up. Howard Stern brought shock radio. He got on, he got big, but he was one of the very few that was doing shocking stuff through the radio. Now we've got cajillions of people every day uploading cajillions of videos. Some of them just outright crying about their lives. Some others just lying about whatever to see if they can get whoever is following them to give them some money. We've got people who put stuff up on YouTube that is not factual. It's false information. Once again, to get views that shock you. So this is everything that Gen Z has to deal with, you know. The family timeline has been rewritten. No matter how you look at it. I mean, the whole idea back in our parents' time and their parents' time was, you know, you get married, you build a family, you build a life into retirement. That is no more. Divorces started to get so big and people just have no interest in working out problems. I mean, you were in love at one time. Hell, there's people that are on their 5th marriages. There's some people that don't even want to go down that road. It's absolutely incredible, you know. Kids, Gen Z, don't even want to commit themselves to having a family, getting a house, moving forward in life like previously our parents did and grandparents did. There is so much uncertainty. I mean, it used to be the employer and the employee were in a marriage that one needed the other. Through the 70s into the 80s and through the 90s, through the 2000s, corporate greed and the I'll find somebody else who cares attitude in business just took hold. I mean, these Gen Zs are going to work knowing that they can be crapped on at any time and thrown out the door, whether deserving or not. And wages right now, as we speak, everything after 2022 went up through the roof as far as costs, as far as prices, as far as retail products. Our wages hasn't gone up. These people can't even afford to get an apartment anymore. They would take their whole monthly income in order to pay rent. Yeah, I know, it's not that way through the whole United States. The cost of everything has gone through the roof. And when these Gen X's look at this and say, I don't want to bring a kid into this, justifiably so. Costs to have a baby. Healthcare has gone through the roof. The cost of healthcare in the United States is so frickin' far out of control. Health insurance companies go out of their way not to pay, but they want their massive monthly payment. We as a human population should be beyond war, should be beyond hating each other, should be beyond all this stupidity that you see on social media. We as a world should be all getting together. But what do we have? World leaders and governments, corrupt, fraud, more war machine stuff. It's disgusting. Let's check into the next one here.
I think the food industry is transparent about pretty much anything.
So, what are GMOs? GMOs are created by deliberately changing the genetic makeup of a plant or animal in ways that could never occur in nature. The majority of GMO crops on the market have been genetically engineered to produce their own pesticides or to withstand the herbicides farmers use to control weeds. What are the safety concerns about GMOs? You may be surprised to know that the federal government hasn't mandated that GMOs be proven safe before they're used in your food. There hasn't been enough research to know whether GMOs are harmful to people, but scientists around the world agree genetic engineering has the potential to introduce allergens or other unintended changes that could affect human health.
The average strawberry has been sprayed over a dozen times with 7.8 different pesticides.
What is the takeaway from that?
The takeaway is,
should I not eat strawberries?
Buy organic strawberries because they won't have pesticides.
Did you know that the United States does not put on their packaging like majority, if not all, other countries? Matter of fact, in other countries, GMOs are illegal. Gosh, I wonder why the hell that is. They must have really smart government people over there, because God only knows we don't have them. Right now, we are part of a giant human experiment with them making fake meat, cell-cultured meat, GMOs in our food, highly super processed food, and we wonder why in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, everybody was in shape. And then at about mid-70s, it starts going up with people being obese, into the 80s, into the 90s, into the 2000s. Everybody's overweight, everybody's sick, everybody has some form of diabetes, everybody's going to get cancer. We have all these health problems. It's a good thing we got a government that's watching out for us instead of waiting for the lobbyists to come and put down that check into their, re-election fund and that under the table special consulting job that they get on these boards that they never show up for. It's great that we have this great country. Another thing to consider, these GMOs, which are supposed to kill off bugs automatically, are going at some point in time, the way Earth and the way everything evolves, we'll need more pesticide, we'll need more weed killer in order for it to work. And we're consuming that. And that's supposed to be good for us? So you've got a GMO seed that some company made. That means that company can go and patent that. It's theirs exclusively. They can put whatever price they want on it. And if there are no other seeds to buy, guess what? You get stuck paying for that ultra high processed seed in order to plant what you need to plant. That's just one of the many negatives against this. This genetic engineering and fake meat will cause issues in the future. And let me give you an example. Everybody thought talcum powder was safe. You know, you keep it in, some people keep it in their bathrooms. It's that white powder and you shake it on your body. That causes cancer. Who would have thought way back in the 50s and 60s and 70s that an innocent talcum powder product would cause cancer? When we're introduced to something new, something manufactured, we don't know for 20 years how it's going to affect the body. But for corporate profit, who cares? Because we made money doing it. Even though we were going to kill everybody, who cares? On to the next one.
Want any questions answered? We just want it stopped.
People all over the U.S. are raising the alarm about the impacts that these data centers could have on their health, their homes, and their livelihoods.
Let's talk about the real-life consequences of AI that are happening right now. So the AI that you're using, your social media apps, it doesn't exist in a cloud. It exists in a data center. What look like giant warehouses, but they really house all of these servers. One critical thing is the amount of electricity that these data centers require. Business Insider calculated as a range. On the low end, that's as much as the state of Ohio used in 2023, their entire electricity use. On the high end, it's about as much as Florida used in that same year. So let's talk about data centers' impact on local economies. All of these different cities across the country are racing to have data centers built in their areas. In Ohio, cities are making these deals with large companies like Amazon that are very profitable. What we found is that for every full-time, long-term job that's employed at a data center, Amazon might be saving as much as $1 million in taxes that they don't pay to the state or the cities. And what jobs do come from data centers are pretty much in their construction and wrap up long before your economic development deal is done. And data centers are also contributing in major ways to air and water pollution. Because of data centers skyrocketing electricity demand, a lot of utilities are starting to say, we can't meet this demand without relying more and more on fossil fuels. So this is causing more and more air pollution. The power generation for these data centers could contribute $5.7 to $9.2 billion of annual public health costs, in numbers of hundreds of thousands of additional asthma cases that can be wheezing, tightness of the chest, difficulty breathing, and can be hundreds of additional deaths each year. And what is it like living next to these giant data centers? So these residents are living right next to these industrial facilities that are running 24/7, and they're making this really ominous drone noise. So it's a constant noise of their cooling fan. Some residents told us that they can actually hear it inside their houses, and some had to sleep in the basement because they couldn't sleep. And how are data centers deepening the water crisis? So to power those data centers, you need a huge amount of electricity, and those servers get really hot, so you need something to cool them. Sometimes data centers are using water to cool their servers. They're finicky drinkers. They only really want to use drinking water. Data centers are competing directly with residents who are living in the desert where there's already not enough water to go around. Business Insider requested records of how much water every data center is using. We've got a lot of redacted records, and in 2 cases, cities actually sued us to prevent the release of those records. There's a lot of interest in the promise of AI, but the costs are already right here, and they're impacting us today.
Nestled in the arid nothingness of northern Nevada, a burgeoning boomtown of tech in one of the world's driest deserts.
We are Shangri-La for data centers.
Shangri-La for
data centers.
Is this the new Silicon Valley? What is this?
It is.
It's fast becoming one of the world's most popular places for AI data centers, hubs of sprawling special-built server farms, the new frontier of tech now popping up across the country, requiring a minimal workforce to operate, but they come with some big trade-offs, like the huge amounts of power to run them and water to keep them cool. A Bloomberg investigation found that 2/3 of all new U.S. data centers are being built in water-scarce regions, with projects getting pushback in other states, where severe drought is a major concern. In 2023, they consumed an estimated 200 billion gallons of water, as much water as about 500,000 people, and it's only expected to rise as the AI boom continues.
It's really scary for the folks who live here. It's scary for myself.
Unlike what's being built here in the desert, centers like this one are going up next to neighborhoods within city limits. Tanager says there aren't enough rainy days like this one to support the developments without more guardrails.
Residents' utility bills are already going up. We have water issues out the wazoo, and we know that data centers are extremely energy and water intensive, and the city is not prepared.
Data centers are coming, and stakeholders like Chris argue it's a good thing. Economic diversification for a region too reliant on tourism and casinos, while others worry places like Reno will become unrecognizable and the state's water supply unsustainable.
Yeah. Oh! I know this has been in the news a lot, and I know you probably watched some of this already, but I'm here to tell you, this crap really pisses me off and tells you a lot about our government, top to bottom. Everything from the township that you live in, all the way up to the federal government. What kind of careless, stupid, goddamn politicians we have. Period, exclamation mark, boom. I mean, since the 70s, we've been listening to Al Gore run around telling us that the whole world is going to be a sheet of ice. And then all of a sudden, the whole world is going to be global warming. And now, you know, they've come up with new words for it. I mean, just a few years back, oh, well, you know, we're going to have to start taxing carbon taxes. You get all of these data centers built in the United States that range anywhere from 4 football fields to 380 football fields. You have all that heat going up into the atmosphere all the time. The equivalency of 23 nuclear bombs going off every day per data center. That's right, I looked it up. All that heat every day. You're telling me that that is not going to change our environment? Were we not just worried about the polar bears? Well, I guess for profit, F the polar bears. The constant sound, the constant humming from these places screw up birds, they screw up cattle, they screw up horses, they screw up animals, they screw us up. That constant humming all day long, anywhere from 60 dB to 120 dB, which is a lot, by the way. Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh. Every day. What are we doing to ourselves? Where in the hell is our government? Well, we know where they are. I mean, they're just corrupt and fraudulent. But if we had a real government, okay, with real people who gave a shit, I mean, they would not allow this, period, exclamation mark, at all. So these data centers come in, they take up these huge chunks of land, they don't pay property tax or a discounted rate for property taxes, but yet then that community turns around, that county turns around, and for whatever money they lost, they pass it on to their residents. The data center gets a discount rate on electricity. Then the power company goes back to the people, the public, and raises their rates to cover that shortfall. Water, the same thing. For what? The whole idea of these companies coming in there to build these large plants has always been that we're going to hire thousands of people. That's why you gave them the discount. These data centers don't employ anybody. I know some of you are sitting there going, well, they employ like 1,000 people or a couple hundred people. No, they don't. They don't employ hardly anybody at our cost to us. I like watching these fringe shows, and what I mean by that is that, alien shows and stuff about, Egypt and onward and upward and ghosts and blah, 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 UFOs, Bigfoot. But occasionally we run across something like we found a ring that looked like a little watch buried someplace that was never excavated before. We've found, tubes running through chalk deposits. We've found some weird things, like a previous civilization was there at one time. Maybe a civilization was there and did stupid stuff like this and killed everybody. Along with the fact that, we keep on hearing the threat that, AI, it might become, its own weapon against human beings. And we're stupid enough to keep on doing this? No wonder we have so many UFOs or UAPs or whatever the government wants to call them floating around all over the place. Those aliens are down here doing a documentary on how stupid humans are, just waiting for us to wipe ourselves out, and then they're like radioing on over to their planet going, yeah, come on over here. We got a place to expand now. These dumbasses wipe themselves out. Well, anyways, till the next video, hope you enjoyed this one. I'm just getting over a cold, so a little bit tired here, but see you on the next one.